Hi, I'm Shaju. I'm an agile change agent and agile enthusiast. I help teams and organizations improve and move from traditional models to agile and scrum. One of the challenges we face as a coach or scrum master or agile practitioner while moving on to a team is the teams coming up with resistance saying Scrum and Agile works for small websites, small projects, and ours is too complicated. We can't do Scrum and Agile. Scrum ignores design phase, and for us, we need to have design phase as a separate phase. So Scrum and Agile doesn't work for us. Scrum ignores documentation in general, and it is devastating for our project. Scrum doesn't plan, so we can't commit dates to the stakeholders. So the people with dislike towards Agile and Scrum are called agilephobia. So they would be saying, it would have been better if I asked someone to do something. Or you'd be hearing, it would have been better if someone tell me exactly what I need to do. And waterfallacy is mistaken belief towards Scrum and Agile in general after prolonged exposure to waterfall. So today I'm going to talk about how I address some of the concerns and how I move teams from waterfall to Agile. Most of the resistance comes from the fear of losing the authority and sometimes the job. A good percent of the people who resisted came from a project manager background who were commanding and micromanaging teams at all levels. And some of the people, they were in a supervisory position and who were technical leads or the developers in the past, but after prolonged working as a technical lead or developer, they moved to supervisory position and no longer doing the actual work. Mostly these people who are in the supervisory position and managerial position, there's a tendency to resist under the fact that there is no role for a project lead or a supervisory position in Scrum. Scrum defines only 3 positions: a Scrum Master, a Product Owner, and the development team. So how to handle this resistance, how to address this? Most of the times, we might have to disrupt and shake the organization to change from waterfall to agile. So it's a fact that there is no supervisory position and some of the supervisors might have to go to a developer position or an architect position, or sometimes some of them as mostly project managers, they after prolonged training and coaching, they move to Scrum Master position. So we have to, when the resistance occurs from the team members, we have to observe them, we have to have one-to-one talking, one-to-one coaching with them and understand what drives that resistance. If the fear is all about moving to Agile because they fear that they may lose their authority, then you have to coach them and tell them the fact that we don't need supervisors, but you have to go to a different role. However, some of the persons, they may feel it is frustrating to move to a less supervisory position and may end up moving out of the teams. There is no documentation in Agile. So we can't go to Agile and Scrum. So have you heard about this? I have heard about this many times. There is no documentation. Agile is all about coding. Agile Manifesto says documentation is not important. How can you deliver some software without any documentation? But the fact is, Agile Manifesto says working software over comprehensive documentation. It doesn't mean that Agile and Scrum ignores documentation. The importance is over the working software. However, the documentation is also important. You as a team and an organization can determine what best work for you. So you have to convince the team and tell the team that this is what Agile is about. Agile doesn't say that documentation is not important. If the team, it is up to the organization and to the team to determine what level or what extent of documentation they need. Most of the Scrum and Agile teams, they go with lightweight wikis with minimal diagrams and pictures. It's as a knowledge base, as a searchable format. When you convey these facts, the people who resist, most of the time they say that, oh, I never knew this. Architects and senior technical people often frightened by the fact that there is no separate design phase for Scrum. In Scrum and Agile, the design is an ongoing activity. It emerges over the period. So you often face a resistance from architects. How to handle this? You have to convince those people saying that design occurs, definite design occurs here, but we are building Lego, like a Lego castle here. We are not building the whole framework, but we are building what is minimal required. If it is about design, we will create the whole design in a PPT. For example, that is something what we have done in my projects. We will create the high-level design which connects all the connected system, and then instead of creating all the objects, all the sequence diagram, everything, even the minute level, at the first phase, what we will do is we will create the minimal design, maybe in a week or two. We will not take 3 months to complete the whole design, because when we start the project, this is the time we knew bare minimum about the project. How most of the times what we planned, we knew little about the project upfront. In the waterfall, how many times you have faced this? We will revisit this, we will change this. So instead of that, we will come up with the minimal design and we will revisit that on the go. So this change in mindset, you have to root in their mindset, and it may take some time. And often frightened by the idea that in Agile and in Scrum, team can predict further ahead than the current sprint or iteration, or if you are following safe or less or any scale Agile model, the current PI. But in reality, can we do that in waterfall? How many times we have predicted the dates and we're able to achieve it? Most of the times, outsourcing companies promise to fix this problem by adding enough buffer. If it is a onion project, they will add at least one as a buffer. But does that mean Agile and Scrum cannot plan at all? In Agile and Scrum, or even Safe, they have a multiple level of planning. They have planning in the release level that occurs every 3 months. Then they have planning in the iteration level that it's the planning that occurs for the next 3 weeks or 2 weeks, and they have everyday planning that happens in the daily standard. So how do we give dates or predict dates in Agile? Does that mean we can't do any planning and predict dates in Agile and Scrum? We can do it. We do it based on the velocity of the team and what is the total size of the story points. For example, imagine we have work of 100 story points and the velocity of the team is 20. Let it be the pessimistic velocity, and optimistic velocity is 25. So 100 divided by 20 is 5, and 100 divided by 25 is 4. So given the current situation, given the current velocity, team would be able to finish the whole work between 4 to 5 sprints. That is how we predict the dates in Agile and Scrum. Oh my God, Scrum has too many meetings. Have you heard about this from your teams? So here's the problem with the Scrum. In Scrum, all the meetings have names. You have daily stand-up meeting, you have backlog refinement meetings, you have a sprint demo. So when there is name for something, it is easier to attack. In the old way, there was no name for any ceremonies, and most of them were ad hoc meetings. So in my experience, most of the team who adopted Agile and Scrum had many more meetings than the regular backlog refinement meeting they now spend time on. So for an example, handpick one of the months before they adopted Agile and sum up all the meetings they used to attend. The output, then sum up all the meetings you attend now. You would be surprised by the fact that you had more meetings before than now. Fellow Agile enthusiastic, moving a team from waterfall to Agile is not easy. You need patience. You need to spend a lot of considerable time with your team to coach and mentor their team and observe and address their concern to slowly move from waterfall mindset to Agile. Wish you all the best, and thanks for listening to me.